Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be back for this new webinar hosted by the Join a School in France team. First of all, before we start, can you hear me properly and can you see us? Because we had some technical problems before when we did some checks. So yes, and can you see as well, Sophie?
Hi, everyone.
Yes, well, looks like everything is okay. So amazing. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Bastien and I'm working at Join a School in France, recruiting international students for the Masters in Management. And today we're going to talk in detail about the Masters in Management at HEC Paris. This is why Sophie is with us today. Sophie, can you say hi?
Yes, hi, everyone. I'm very pleased to present the Master in Management to you all. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But first and foremost, welcome to this webinar.
Yes, thank you, Sophie. So, as Sophie just said, first of all, she will kick off this live video with a 30 minutes or less overview of HEC Paris, the Masters in Management, and everything you need to know about the school. And then you'll be able to ask all your questions during the Q&A session. But please feel free to ask any question in the chat box while Sophie and I are speaking, because my colleague from the Join a School in France team, Ellen, is in front of her screen too, so she's able to answer your question in the chat box. And then the second half of the webinar, it will be devoted to the admission process through Join a School in France, how to apply, when, which material, etc. And again, I'll take some question at the end of my presentation. So I think we're all good for the introduction. So now I pass the floor to Sophie so that we can learn more about HEC Paris.
Great. Well, I'm really pleased, like I said, to be presenting you the Master in Management program. I see that one student in the chat told us where he or she was connecting from. It looks like Senegal. If you want to just tell me where you're connecting from, it's my favorite part of webinars is seeing all the representations around the world. I'm currently based in Paris right now, but I think that there are a lot of nationalities joining us today. So I'm excited to see where you're all located. So for the Master in Management, before I get into the details of the program, I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of the different programs that we offer. So HEC has a very wide, unique range of programs. The Master in Management falls in the pre-experience master's category, which means that if you're currently in your bachelor's degree or even master's degree, or you've graduated but you have less than 3 years of professional work experience, then this is a perfect program for you, and you can apply through the Join a School in France process. If you have between 3 to 10 years of professional work experience, HEC offers an MBA program. We have executive MBA programs, PhD programs, and also the summer school. So if you're hesitating on whether or not to commit to a master's program and you really want to get a taste for HEC, you can do our summer school and take, let's say, a 2-week luxury class, a 2-week entrepreneurship class, or a 2-week business and geopolitics class, for example. The summer school is a really great way to, like I said, get a taste of the quality of programs that we teach before committing to a full master's program. So as some of you might know, HEC was ranked #1 business school in Europe by the Financial Times. And hopefully in my next slides, you'll see why we were ranked the best business school in Europe. I won't go too much into our other rankings because I do think that they speak for themselves. But what I like to do is share a few facts and figures about the school. So we have about 4,500 students enrolled in all the programs that I showed you in my previous slide. We have 105 nationalities represented in our program. And this diversity you can see in the program, but also in this webinar, it looks like we have people from the Netherlands, Canada, Lebanon, India, Senegal. So welcome, everyone. You'll find a very similar diversity in the Master in Management program, like I said, with many nationalities represented at the school. We have many international partners. You'll see this come through with the different double degree programs that we offer through the Master in Management. So I'll touch on that a little bit later on. And we have 60,000 alumni in 135 different countries. The reason I stress this is because the alumni network is an incredible support system for you the minute you step foot on HEC's campus and for the rest of your career. So regardless of whether you want to change industries or whether you want to change countries, you can count on the HEC alumni network to help you get the career placement that you're hoping for. So even in terms of mentorship, in terms of interview prep, in terms of internship offers, the alumni network is an excellent resource, support system, mentorship program for current students, and like I said, for the rest of your career. So this is a really important fact and figure to take away from this presentation. You might have heard of other Master in Management programs. This, to me, is really what sets HEC apart. So this is what makes our program unique. The first step is that we maximize class hours and reduce class sizes. So you'll never have more than 50 students in a classroom at a time, which might be refreshing for some of you who have been in lectures with 200 to 300 students. And those classes, this is important to keep in mind, those classes are always taught by full-time HEC faculty or by professionals. So let's say you want to take a strategy elective. Well, we'll have someone from BCG come interact with you in the classroom and share concrete examples of what it is the consulting world is addressing in the business world. So this leads to the perfect balance between theory and practice. So this is really our main objective for you in the program, is that we help you develop your theoretical base, but we also help you work on a more practical approach to your learning, which means having you work on real life case studies, working on company projects, so that you feel even more ready to integrate the professional world. This is also what makes HEC a particularly inspiring environment. For example, Hubert Joly, who is the CEO of Best Buy, and he's an alumni of the school. He donated 3 million euros to the school a couple years ago, and that was used to create a purposeful leadership program, which means that we incorporate this idea of purposeful leadership in every year of the master's program that we teach. You'll have the opportunity to attend many networking events, the finance fair, consulting fair, tech day, automobile day, many different networking events that will help you get some interview prep, some discussions going for your future career. And then, of course, a strong campus social life, which I'll touch on a little bit later on in the presentation. Now on to more details for the Master in Management program. So the class is 250 students with 64 nationalities represented in the program. We'll talk about the application requirements a little bit later on in the presentation, but what I really want to note is that this program is open to all academic backgrounds. Those who have already studied business and management are more inclined to think of a business school for their master's studies, but if you've studied journalism, philosophy, engineering, any type of humanities, you are more than welcome to apply to this program. You are more than eligible. And of course, if you've already studied business and management, this is even more pertinent for you because it will take you into the next steps of what you've already started to learn. In terms of the program structure, so the Master in Management is a 2-year program with an optional gap year. So in your first year of the program, it's what we call the generalist phase. You'll have the balance that I mentioned between theory and practice. So you'll have certain core classes that help you develop a strong foundation in business and management. If you've already taken certain of these core classes, you can be exempt to up to 21 credits, allowing you to take even more electives. So you can already start to customize your first year of the program. If you haven't studied business or management or finance or econ, then a lot of these courses will help you develop a strong foundation that you haven't already had. So that's how the program is adapted to all academic backgrounds in the first year of the program. So in addition to this kind of core theory base, you have the whole practical side, which means many, many different electives that you can choose from. This is only a very short list of the electives that we offer. You can also participate in the academies in January, the FACT projects, networking events, like I said, conferences throughout the year. It's really a way for you to start thinking about your future career, to start thinking more practically, and to really engage with other students. The academies, for example, there are many that you can choose from. My favorite that I've heard of, I think it's really a perfect example of the type of teaching we offer at HEC, is there's one that's called crisis management. So what happens is you're put in a room with other basically colleagues or classmates, and you have a few minutes to learn about your company. Then you get a phone call, and the crisis can be, okay, so you're a company that sells lasagnas, and we just found out that you sell horse meat in your lasagnas. How are you going to deal with this crisis internally? How are you going to address the press? How are you going to maintain the structure of your company despite this new crisis that has arisen? And it's just like, what company, what employee has never had to go through a crisis at some point, especially right now with COVID? It's even more pertinent to learn about these things. So we really try to give you a practical learning experience. Because of this, 98% of our students choose to do the optional gap year. So they'll most of the time do 2 6-month internships. I just spoke with a student who is going to do 6 months in consulting at BCG in Dubai, and then 6 months of finance internship, I think at JP Morgan in London. So this will help the student decide what she wants to do in her specialization phase, in addition to having 2 wonderful internship experiences that she can add to her CV. So the gap year is really a valuable tool for you, but it's completely optional. For the specialization phase, so the second year of the program, you have many different options, and that's what also contributes to the richness of this program, is that you have many, many different things that you can choose from in your second year. But you don't have to decide what you do in your second year of the program until later at the end of your first year. So in terms of the specializations, you can either stay on campus for the full year and study either strategic management or international finance or sustainability and social innovation. So those are all specializations taught on the HEC campus. Of course, there are many more that I didn't list today, but you can see them on our website. The other opportunity for you is to do an international double degree, which means that you would spend your whole second year in that partner institution's campus. So those institutions include MIT, Yale, Berkeley, TUM, FGV, HKUST, ISADE. There are many, many schools. Like you saw in my facts and figures, we have 140 different international partnerships. So you can spend your whole second year in that partner institution's campus and get a degree from both HEC and the partner institution. Or you could choose the SEMS program as a specialization and just do 1 semester at a partner institution. The list goes on, and you'll have all the opportunities presented to you in your first year of the program. So just keep that in mind. A lot of opportunities in the specialization phase, but you don't have to decide right now. Just know that they're there. And then finally, the last element of your program that you can choose, it's optional for you, but it is included in your tuition fees, is to do a certificate. So what a certificate is it would be the last 6 to 8 weeks of your second year, so the very end of your program. And what it would be is, that a full-time HEC faculty member got together with one major corporate partner, and they designed this certificate around the idea of, okay, in the world of excellence and client experience, what is it we want our future employees to know? And so what you do is go to the offices of LVMH and you learn concretely what the projects are that they're working on. So not only is this a sector of expertise that you get to put on your CV, but it's also an incredible networking opportunity. So let's say you apply to the Master in Management, you're admitted in the program, and you chose International Finance as your second year specialization. You're nearing the end of your program and you're like, you know what? I've been studying business and finance for 2 years now. I really want to do the luxury certificate or the data science certificate. You can absolutely do that. Or you can go deeper into something you're already interested in and do energy and finance or mergers and acquisitions and get another sector of expertise in that domain. So that's just a fun way that we like to wrap up the programs. In terms of career placement, like you probably saw in everything that I said, the program is really concrete, it's really practical, and this is what contributes to our excellent career placement after the program. So you can really count on this as an HEC graduate. A lot of our students go into the consulting or financial services, technology. We're very strong in entrepreneurship. We have an incubator at Station F, which is the world's largest startup hub in Paris, and you absolutely have access to that. Many opportunities for you in terms of your career. And again, what's great about this 2-year program is you don't have to be sure of what you want to do after the program. You can decide that while you're in it. In terms of the living expenses and tuition fees, so the total tuition fees for everything, including the optional gap year, is 41,700 euros. Keep in mind that a lot of the internships that students do during the gap year are paid internships. So you can eventually count on having 2 6-month internships that are paid between your first and second year. In terms of all the additional expenses that students spend, so let's say housing, insurance, food, leisurely activities. The average of those expenses that we calculated is about 1,000 euros per month. So those are your tuition fees for the 2, potentially 3 years. Then living expenses is about 1,000 euros per month, depending on your lifestyle. So you can kind of calculate your budget for the next 3 years. If you are admitted to HEC, you are automatically considered for the HEC Foundation Excellence Scholarship, which is a merit-based scholarship. So it's nothing you can apply for. We just automatically consider you for it, and we'll publish the results shortly after the admissions results are published. Otherwise, you can contact your local Campus France. They might have scholarship opportunities for you. You can check out everything we have on our website. There are a few listed there, and be in touch with us if you have any questions about the fees and financing part of the program. In terms of student life, you can see a few pictures of our campus here. So the campus is set between Paris and Versailles. We facilitate access to Paris with the shuttle buses that run up until, I think, 5 o'clock in the morning. So you can go have a really nice long French dinner in Paris and then come back to campus via the buses that are just a safe way for you to get back and forth. You are, as international students, you're guaranteed housing on campus, and I highly advise you to take advantage of this opportunity, just because if you live on campus, you're 30 seconds away from all your friends and classmates. You're 5 minutes walking from your classroom. You're 2 minutes away from the student restaurant and the student bars, the cafes, your sports facilities. So it's just a really nice way to wrap up your studies by being on a campus and have that campus experience. And then speaking of the student associations, you have over 130 to choose from. They range from cultural, so the Wine and Cheese Club is quite popular, I hear. There's the German Association, the HEC Spain. They're all open to various nationalities. You have all the sports associations, so the soccer, badminton, rugby, every sport you can imagine. And then finally, the professional student associations. So that'll be your consulting club, Women in Business. It'll be HEC Seed, which is our startup student association. There are so many opportunities for you, and really a part of this Master in Management experience is getting involved in the extracurricular life on campus. So keep that in mind if you're admitted into the program. It'll be an important thing for you to invest your time in. And that is about it for my slides that I wanted to present to you. Oh, sorry, we can't hear you. Bastien, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me this way?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, so sorry, I have to keep on with the mobile phone because, to be fully honest with all of you guys, I cannot hear properly Sophie. So she just called me before the beginning of the webinar so I could hear her properly with the phone. So if I want to hear properly Sophie, I have to listen to her over the phone. So to start with the Q&A session, Sophie, we had a lot of questions regarding the tests like the TAJMAJ, the GRE, and the GMAT. So we've got lots of questions about the minimum scores. I don't know if you got something to say about that.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Thanks for asking it. And also, Bastien, thanks for your creativity with our
Yeah.
communication right now. That's a good question about the management test. I also get that question, is there a minimum requirement for grades? The answer to that is no, because we have a holistic approach in evaluating applications. So basically, I can give you the average scores that we accepted for the DAJMAJ, GMAT, and GRE, but keep in mind that if you're a little bit below this average, it can be compensated by strong professional experiences. It can be compensated by great grades or challenging classes that you took. So if you haven't taken these tests already, I recommend that you aim for the scores that I'm about to tell you. And if you are a little bit below that, you can always contact us, and we'd be happy to give you advice on whether you should retake it or whether this score should be okay. But just keep in mind that it's a holistic approach to evaluating applications. So for the Tajmaj, it's I suggest that you aim for a 400 if you can. For the GMAT for the GMAT, it's between 700 and 710 would be great, with a stronger quantitative score than verbal if you can. And then finally for the GRE, it's a cumulative score of about 320. That was the average of what we accepted last year.
Okay, many thanks, Sophie. And maybe a last question about the management test. Some students from India are asking about the CAT, and what I said in the chat box is that it's always better to submit a GMAT rather than a CAT. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, I know that it's possible to submit a CAT score, but if you really want to maximize your chances of admission to HEC, I recommend one of the three tests that I cited. So either the Tajmaj if you're a French speaker, or the GMAT, or the GRE. Those are really the three tests that we prefer.
Okay, thank you, Sophie. Then we've got a question regarding the experience and the professional experience. So a student says, I've got 2 years of full-time experience and 10 months of internship. Can I apply for the Masters in Management program?
Yeah, no problem. And the way we usually calculate it is since your most recent degree. So if you graduated in 2018 or more recently, then you're totally fine to apply. If you have, between 2 to 3 years full-time work experience since completing your most recent degree to the time you would be starting the program, then you're absolutely eligible to apply.
Okay, thanks. So another question regarding to that, is the internship work experience be considered in the application?
Any type of professional experience you have, we will absolutely consider it. So if you created your own startup, if you did internships, if you did full-time work opportunities, we'll count anything that you consider professional experience. So give us all the information that you have and let us be the deciders of whether the information you're providing us is pertinent or not. Just give us everything you have in the application. It's not a time to be humble or to hold back any information. So give us everything you can.
Okay, thanks. Then we've got an interesting question from Vladimir. He's asking, are students from Masters in Management admission processes mixed with post-prepa students in classes?
Yep. So, as some of you might know, for the French system, there are two ways to integrate the Master in Management program. Either you do 2 years of prépa, so preparatory classes, you pass what we call the concours, and then you come to HEC as an L3 student, then you do an M1 and then an M2. If you do an international, let's say a bachelor's or a licence, as we call it in French, so 3 years, at least 3 years of bachelor's, then you apply to HEC through the application process. So you can apply through Join a School in France, for example, and then you would be, and if you're admitted, you would be arriving into the program as an M1 student, and then you would do an M2. So you would be joining all those students from preparatory classes in the M1 year of the program. So you basically all together do 2 years of the Master in Management program. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thanks. Well, I hope so. We've got lots of questions. Another one about the programs. Is there any apprenticeship track which combines in-company work experience with academic coursework in HEC Paris?
We don't offer what's called alternance in French. We don't offer a part-time program. Our program is really full-time. Where you can do the professional experience is during the optional gap year. So we really want you to be full-time focused on your studies in the first year of the program, then focus on the professional development during the optional gap year, and finally focus on your specialization phase full-time. It's just a shame to pay tuition fees for you to only half of the time be studying in the program. So that's really the idea of why we want you to be full-time learning.
Okay, thanks. So we've got other questions. So I'm gonna repeat what I said in the chat box about the CAT and the unofficial scores. So we don't accept the unofficial scores. We need the official scores, whatever the GMAT, the GRE, or the TAJMAJ, but we need them to apply. The CAT is allowed. We're not saying that it's not allowed. We say that it's way better for us in your application to apply with the 3 other management tests. So if you only have the CAT, you can apply with that, but always better to take the GMAT or the GRE. Then, do we have other question? Can we please tell whether any CAT test taker have entered in HEC? So I've answered this question. Yes, sorry, I'm gonna mute the micro while Sophie is speaking, see if the voice is echoing. So everything about the letter of recommendation, what I say, I'm gonna talk about that in my presentation. So I'm not gonna spend that much time on that now. And I think we've got, do we have other question? I see that knowing French is not prerequisite for the procedure. Will HEC Paris have online pre-courses before September that teaches international student French, or do we have to do it normally on our own? So yeah, question about the French language. Is it mandatory or no?
Yeah, no problem. It's a good question. So actually, as if you're admitted into the program and you confirm your seat in the program, so the minute you're admitted and paid the deposit, you actually have access to our language resource center, which means that you can take one-on-one French language classes or even English if you really want to brush up on your English. So you have access to this for free as an admitted HEC student. So you can brush up on your French or English before starting the program. There's the French language summer school that we can offer you. That's not included in your tuition fees, but it's for the 2 weeks, I think, right before you would start the program. Then as a student, you have access again to the Language Resource Center. You can take language classes for credit. So there are a lot of language opportunities, which means that many of our students have a strong level of fluency in French at the end of their degree, which again is just another skill you can add to your CV and makes you even more attractive to employers. If you want a front office job in France, you do have to have a really strong fluency in French, especially like in consulting or finance. A lot of our students choose to remain in Europe after the program, especially because we extend your student visa for about a year after graduation, so you can stay here and work in Europe, no problem. But we are noticing a lot of students want to go to London or Germany, Spain. So, the French language barrier is really not a problem in your professional recruitment. I hope that answers the 2 questions that were about French.
Thank you, Sophie. So maybe we're going to take 2 or 3 questions more, and then we're going to keep on with the Join the School in France presentation, because it's already half of the webinar. So Sophie, can we apply to the MIM program if we are already in a master's program now?
Oh, if you're already in a master's, like let's say you're a master's student in, let's say, an MSc marketing program or something like that, you are absolutely eligible to apply to, or even a master's in engineering, you're absolutely eligible to apply to the Master in Management program. Sorry, I misunderstood the question at the beginning, but yes, that's definitely possible. There is no maximum age. It's basically, since we have the professional experience requirement that you can't have had more than 3 years of full-time professional work experience since your most recent degree, it usually means that the average age for the program is 22, 23, so we don't have a maximum age requirement.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sophie. Well, I think we're done with the question. Guys, in any case, if you have another question that might pop up in your head now, you can email me and I will email Sophie, so she will be able to answer your question. Sophie, then, well, thanks a lot for being here. Sorry about all the mess
No
regarding the
worries.
audio.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much to Bastien and the Join a School in France team for organizing this. And thanks to all of you for connecting. Hopefully, it was insightful, and we look forward to evaluating your application.
Bye, Sophie. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna keep on with my presentation. So again, can you hear me properly? I'm sorry to ask that again, but as we had some troubles, yes, okay, thanks. I don't know why I couldn't hear Sophie for any reason. So I'm gonna go basically through the administrative process, how to apply with us, what do we do, and how at Join a School in France. So we recruit international students for 5 business schools, which are HEC, we've just talked about that, ESCP, EM Lyon, Schema, and Audencia. So I'd like to bring your attention on one point. We only recruit students for the Masters in Management. It's not for the MBA or for any Master of Science in Engineering, okay? You may be wondering what's the difference between applying with us or directly to each school. I know that I've seen in the chat box maybe how to say in the like in your application which school you would rather choose. So basically, the difference is that with Join a School in France, you apply once to 5 business schools. It means that you do only one application, you take only one interview. I will talk about the interview a bit later on my presentation. Just one interview for 5 schools. Basically, you save time and money. That's the whole point of applying with us. You maximize your chances of getting accepted by a school. Then, who can apply? So the student profile. Well, the admission with Join a School in France is made for international students only, which means that if you're French and you study abroad, you have or you almost having a bachelor from a foreign country. Well, yes, you can apply with us. If you have done your study in France, you cannot apply with us, whether you're French or not. You must have done your study out of France, your bachelor out of France to apply with us. The bachelor. This is very important. And you're eligible as long as you are in your final year of bachelor or you already have your bachelor. And even if you have a master's degree, as Sophie said. And it's open to all academic backgrounds, so do not have any stress about that. It's open to business, art, engineering, all the background. So let's talk about the application process. I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks. It's quite easy to apply with us because everything is online. So what you have to do is just connect on our website, on the platform, and fill up the form and give some basic personal information about yourself. So your name, your nationality, what you studied. And obviously, yes, you know that we do ask for documents that you have to provide. So you must provide the list you can see on the screen, the ID, the certificate of attendance or the diploma from your bachelor, the complete transcript of records, which means all the semesters, the tests, so the English test or the management test, 2 letters of recommendation. So I put academic, but actually we changed that. So do not worry about that. It can be an academic letter or a professional letter. It doesn't matter. Okay. So don't take it into account about what I've put in my presentation. And then, last but not least, you have to pay the the application fee, which is 200 euros for the 5 schools. And one important point, all the documents must be provided either in French or in English. Okay, so we do accept, most of the students give us documents in English, but it cannot be in another languages. My very first advice now would be, guys, take the test early, the management test and the English tests, because it takes a lot of times to prepare, to take this test, and then to get the results. You should expect to get your result like 1 month after you took the test. Let's say the official score, I mean, not the unofficial score. And if your application is incomplete because you didn't receive the official scores, we cannot accept your application. So about the tests, I'm not gonna spend that much time on that because we talked about that with Sophie before. We accept all these tests, GMAT, GRE, TAJMAJ, and we do accept the CAT again. But again, it's way better if you can take the GRE or the GMAT if you're English speaker rather than the CAT. Now, let's talk about the English tests. Okay. So this is the 4 tests we do accept: TOEFL, TOEIC, the IELTS, and the Cambridge. And again, as I said in the chat box during Sophie's presentation, if you're native speaker or for people who already have done their studies in English, and I mean the 3 or 4 years studied fully in English, it's enough. You don't have to take the English tests. Okay, I hope it's clear about the tests. Now the other documents, so the letters of recommendation. The letters of recommendation, so they can be academic or professional, from an internship that you've done or from a professor. It's okay. The only thing we do ask for is the letters must have your referee's contact, the email, the details of the position, and obviously the letters should mention your name and, if possible, the institution's letterhead and the stamp. And well, regarding the proof of payment, I don't have that much to say. Except that you must pay the 200 euros fees, and you have to upload the invoice in your application. Now, this is a point that is going to be interesting for some of you, because I know that some of you ask this question in the chat box. The question to show your motivation. So at Join a School in France, we made that easy, and the schools agreed with that. So you don't have to be worried about that. You don't have to provide any cover letter. So do not stress out about that. The schools are okay with that. They decided not to ask for a cover letter. So you just have to answer these 4 questions you can see on the screen. So describe your proudest accomplishments. Describe a situation where you faced failure. What you learned. How does your application benefit the schools? Did you take part in any extracurricular activities these past years? Okay, so you've got these 4 questions. They will be used by the jury during the interview to ask you questions. So please answer them carefully. And obviously the schools will read this question. And there's nothing secret about them. They are on the website. They are here on my presentation, so you can prepare for them. Then let's talk about the eligibility results. So to know if you're eligible to take the interview. Well, it's quite easy. After the application closing date, you have to wait for 2 or 3 weeks before you get the results by email that you've been pre-selected, shortlisted by at least by the schools. So we're gonna email you. You're gonna have 5 different links to check if the schools accepted you. And to take the interview, you just have to be shortlisted by one school. Okay, if you're accepted by all the 5 schools or 4 schools, 3 schools, it's similar. You have to take just one interview. So talking about the interview, I think this might be an important point. This is the final step of your application. Again, I insist on this point. It's only one interview, even though you have been selected by several schools. Basically, the interview takes place in the city you chose in the form when you applied. It's mainly face to face, although we do some exception with the actual situation. Do not worry about that. So we will let you know if it's online because of the COVID-19, but mainly they are all face to face. The interview lasts about 30 minutes. It's conducted in English, and the jury is made up of 2 or 3 alumni. Or also it can be people from embassies or French government that make the interview. And regarding the question, what you should expect, well, it's quite easy. The interview is similar to a typical job interview. So I guess, guys, you're used to job interview. Question may depend on your profile. Just what to say. You have the jury, the alumni, they will try to know you better, talk about your experiences on your CV. They may ask question regarding your actual job or internship, question about, I don't know, your personality, goals, history, the reason why you're applying. Well, really basic questions you can have during a job interview. So yes, be ready for that. Also, I really insist on that. Don't dismiss the soft skills, what we call the soft skills, and which means everything about the communication ability or the way you present. You have to be well dressed, please, for the interview. It's like a job interview, so it's really, really important. The way you look, the way you speak. Obviously, you're gonna be judged on that. And also, we might ask you some question about general knowledge. So please check the news in your country, in the world, about everything. This is really, really the time now to read the news, because you might be asked some question about that in your interview. Well, I think for this part I've said everything. So once you've taken your interview, you will have to wait about 2 weeks after the end of the interview period in the world to get your results. So generally, all the interview in the world, in the countries, takes place during 2 weeks. And then at the end of this period, 2 weeks later, we will email you the results again with the 5 links to get the result and to know the results and to provide the availability of the results. And so this is a summary of the general process, what I just said. So I won't spend that much time on it. Just I say it again, guys. It takes time and good work in terms of preparing your resume, taking your test, and answering the question and all that stuff. It takes time and to do all that stuff. So please start now and don't wait for the last minute. now we are going to talk about deadlines and key dates. This is very, very important. So round one is way over now. We're almost done with the round two. We are currently organizing the interview for round two. So if you want to apply with us during round three, you will have to join us in round three in March 3rd at the latest. Let me check if it's March 3rd. Yes, I was checking on my calendar, which is in on my wall. So yes, the last date to apply for round three is March 3rd, and then you will know the eligibility result for the interview on March 29th. So please keep that in mind. I don't know, make screenshots, or don't worry, I will email you the recording of this webinar, but like keep these key dates in your heads. And I think we're done. I highly recommend you to go on our website and to check the rules, the frequently asked question, and everything that's on the website. Guys, have you got any other question I can answer? If so, it's the time now to ask it in the chat box, because I'm done with my presentation. So I'm gonna take all the question. I can see that I didn't have that much question since Sophie left the webinar. So while applying through Join a School in France, how do we tailor our application toward an interest in a particular school, since we might like specific aspect of the FI school? Yes, this is an interesting question. Well, basically, you can say it either, I don't know, you can make a point when answering your question, that you would like to join this school rather than another, and or in your CV. Well, you can be very creative on that point. There's no one way to make a point that you want to join one school. But obviously, guys, let's be honest. Please, how can I say that? Please, if you want to make a point of one school, just don't say, I'd like to join HEC and ESCP, because basically most of the people that are playing with us are aiming these two schools, obviously. So it has to be really with arguments that you say that you want to take one school rather than other. I don't know if Shivant, yeah, it's your name. I don't know, Shivant, if I answer well your question, but well, here it is. I can see that some of you are typing now. If you did a specialization of finance, will have you a master of finance or master in management? Do you mean like if there are any finance specialization during the masters in management? Well, for that question, you should look at the program of the schools, because obviously I don't know all the programs of all the schools. And if you want to, I can put you in contact with the schools of your choice, and you can ask this type of question about the specialization. For instance, I know that for Audencia, there's an engineering specialization. So yeah. Oh God, I didn't see that I had so many questions. Sorry. Do we have less chances if we are French applicant because schools are looking for international students? Lucille, no, do not worry about that. So if you've got a foreign bachelor, that's the only main point. We do have a lot of French people that apply with us, and they were admitted by the schools even if they were French. The only thing is that you have to study your bachelor outside of France. Do you not require a motivation letter? As I said, no. Do the letter of recommendation need to be sent to JASIF by the recommender themselves, or do the students attach it while application? If you can do it, please upload your letter of recommendation on the website. If your professor doesn't want to give you the letter of recommendation, well, you can he can email us the letter to the mail you can see on the school on the screen. Irdai, this is the answer to my question. Then, do you also need to submit your high school diploma if you have not obtained your bachelor diploma yet? No, it's not necessary. We don't need the high school diploma, David. If you are not graduated yet, we need a certificate of attendance, okay, that you are currently studying in your last year. I have my bachelor's in English. Am I exempt from English test? Yes, you are. As I said, if you studied fully in English, you don't have to take the English test. 2 letters of recommendation should both be from academic. As I said, they can be academic or professional. It's not important. I see that my colleague answered quite a lot of your question. What's the proportion of students from joining the school in France joining the schools? It really depends on each year, so we do not have answer to that. It depends on each year and on who's applying. So does that mean that regardless of when we apply in a duration of a session, we will always receive the eligibility reply on after 2-3 weeks of the session ends? Well, for this question, you can just check the calendar and you will have the exact key days, which means that if you apply in March 3rd, you will get the results to know if you're eligible for the interview on March 29th. And then when you take your interview between March 30 and April 14th, you will know the final results in April 27th. Okay, so I said 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but it was like a general thing. Here on the screen, it's the exact calendar. If I have 2 years of work experience, then should I get 2 letters of recommendation from work and one work, one academic? It's up to you guys. You really decide if you prefer to upload one academic, one professional letter. We do not have any preference. You choose. Is it possible to apply without the GMAT test score and get a conditional offer, or at least send the result after the application deadline? No, Thomas. Sorry, it's not possible. We need the official score to apply with us. Minimum years of job experience after graduation. I completed graduation in May 2019 and have a job experience of 19 months. Whether suitable to apply? Yes, you can apply. Do not worry about that. So does that mean that regardless of when we apply, so I've already answered these questions. And for schools where apprenticeship track is possible, is it possible to do it even if we apply with journal school in France? Lucille, I guess you're talking about alternance, as we said before with Sophie. So again, this is a very specific question regarding the program. So from what I know, I never heard of any masters in management apprenticeship in alternance. Well, masters in management in alternance, but if you want to, just email us to our address, join the school in France, and we will ask the schools for you. But again, this is a very specific question regarding the program, so I cannot tell you 100%. Is it preferable for French people to take the GMAT rather than the Tajmaj? Thibaut, well, there's no preference. It's up to you. As Sophie said before during the webinar, if you take the GMAT, for HEC, you should aim 700 as a score, and for the Tajmaj 400. So you decide what's better for you, what suits you the best. Sorry about the copy. I didn't mean to send it again. I'm on my phone. No worries. It's okay. Can we both apply through JASIF and the normal admission process? The answer is no. So if you do that, if you apply through Join School in France and the direct way, the schools will take into consideration your first application, and they will cancel the other application. So they will take it off. So please be aware of that. The first application is the most important. We do have some students. Obviously, you can be aware of that. We do have some students that apply both way, but schools take into consideration the first one only. Okay. I think I didn't forget anyone in the chat box, and I tried to answer all the questions. Guys, I'm sorry if I forgot someone. You can ask your question again in the chat box now. This is your last chance. I have received an offer from CAS who need a response by 1st March. So if I apply tomorrow, will I get any reply before that from JASIF? If you're here, I guess, and if you're asking this question, it means that you still haven't applied with us. So no, if you're applying with us, you won't have the results before April 27th, okay? Because the application closing date is March 3rd. So all the results for round 3 will be given in April 27th. Is that clear? Okay, amazing. Guys, if you have other question, that's the moment. I can see that Vladimir is typing. Thanks. Well, my pleasure. I'm sorry about the mess at the beginning, but I think it wasn't a problem for you. It was just for me to listen properly to Sophie. Proportion of students selected in ESCP, HEC, and EM Lyon. Well, I already answered this question, Vladimir. It's there's no proportion because it's different every year regarding the quality of the students that are applying. So I cannot tell you an exact number. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, guys. Well, hopefully I will see you again while checking your application and seeing all your application in round 3. I hope I'll be lucky enough to send your application to the schools. And take care, all of you, and see you soon. And bye-bye. I've got the last question. Will the pandemic end up forcing some school to conduct the first couple of months online, or will they give an option for deferral? Yes, so I'm answering this last question, which is good. They can probably offer you option for deferral, okay? But this is again something to talk directly with the school. You can email them, let them know that you're playing with us, and they will answer your question, and they will give you the possibility or not to deferral. Oh, guys, I said it was the last question, and you keep going, sending a lot of questions. Will there be a disadvantage in applying via Join School in France instead of individual? No, not at all. Very important. As I said, it's exactly the same. The only thing is that by Join School in France, you apply once to 5 schools, but it's no disadvantage to apply with us. And that's why HEC was here today, because they give a lot of importance to Join a School in France application. We work very, very closely with the schools, so they're all one group of schools. So no, you can apply without any stress with us, and you'll be fine. Okay, guys, bye bye. Take care, and hopefully I see your application in round 3. Bye.